فلا تكلوني للزمان فإنني
أخاف عليكم من
أنت حين وفاتي. طب إذا أنت ذكي قل لي هاي إيش المقصود فيها؟
البحر.
غلط.
هو بقول أنا البحر.
هو بيستخدم البحر كاستعارة.
بلشنا كمان مرة.
هذه صورة
رمزية.
هو بيشبه اللغة العربية بالبحر.
طب هو ليه ما بيحكيها مباشرة؟
لأنه هاد شاعر مش يحكي مباشرة.
أنت منين بتعرف هذا الحكي؟
بابا.
بطل.
What was the original starting point for All That's Left of You?
You know, I started thinking of the story like 10 years ago. And one of the first things that came to me was an image that we see, you know, rather soon after the film begins. It's the image of a teenager at a protest. And there's live gunfire, the soldiers start to fire, and we don't know whether our hero teenager is shot or not. But before we find out what happens to him, we cut to the face of an old woman who essentially says, I'm here to tell you the story of my son, but to tell you his story, I have to tell you the story of his grandfather. And then that's how we kind of go back to 1948. I knew I wanted to tell a multi-generational Palestinian family story that would span decades. And so I just didn't know how to get into it for the longest time. And then that image came to me, and that was the moment that I knew that I had the film.
Well, you want to touch people, to stir emotions, also, I guess, to share information about the plight of the Palestinian people. But how do you combine that kind of message aspect of the film with also making a work of art?
I think that, you know, I wanted to really focus on the family. And I think that was really the key, was just, I'm here to tell, you know, to tell a family story. And, you know, it's a family saga over generations. And it's really a story about how this family survives decades of political upheaval and personal loss, and the love that really keeps them together. And so I think, like, really focusing it on that, you know, I don't really think much about the messaging necessarily. I kind of was thinking more about the characters in the story, and I knew that the messaging or the message would kind of come naturally because of who I am, because of where the story takes place, what this family is surviving. So it was quite simple in a way for me to focus just on the family and know that everything else would kind of fall into place.
كل شيء تمام؟
بابا آخر انبساط.
كتبوا له روشتة لدواء جديد لازم أروح أجيبه.
إن شاء الله خير. سلامتك عمي.
الله يسلمك.
Do you feel like you're serving your nation with this film?
I don't know if I would say serving my nation as much as I would say honoring my people and honoring the experience that they have suffered through, that they've endured, I should say. You know, Palestinian people have endured so much and have been so incredibly patient and generous and loving. And I think they're incredibly beautiful people who unfortunately have had like their humanity suppressed. You know, we don't get to see Palestinian humanity in the way that we really should and we really need to. I think, you know, it's been quite the opposite, where Western media has really dehumanized the Palestinian people to the extent that we're seen as inherently violent. And that type of stereotype, that type of horrific, dangerous misrepresentation has led to this moment, has allowed for this moment to take place, has allowed for a level of violence that is just unprecedented, and has allowed for the world to remain silent for the most part, you know, governments to kind of allow this to happen. And so it's really shocking to watch. I think as a Palestinian, especially someone who grew up in the diaspora, for many of us, I don't think we ever would have imagined that we would be seeing this level of violence allowed, you know, kind of sanctioned and you know, with impunity.
بابا أنا عارف بتأكد إنك نفسك تاخدني معك ونشتري تربوزة مشانك. أنا موافق أجي معك.
موافق تيجي؟
موافق عشانك.
عشاني؟
والله.
يلا خذوا معك ريحني.
طيب يلا مشي معي يا نصار. يلا معنا ابوك اللي خلقك.
Czechs are among the biggest supporters of Israel in Europe. What kind of responses to the film have you been getting so far here in Karlovy Vary?
Well, the premiere was tremendous. I mean, it was a packed theater. It was a beautiful, beautiful screening. And we got a standing ovation that was really quite long. I would say 10 to 15 minutes. So I would never have even, you know, what you're saying is not at all what we felt in that theater. We felt an incredible amount of love and solidarity. And even, you know, people came up to me afterwards to thank me for the film and to talk about how moved they were and how powerful it was for them. So it was quite beautiful.